What paradigm do you think is needed in this kind of era, and what is the reason?
There is now an awakening and an awareness of the technologies that exist. I think the main beneficiaries of the technologies we have around us will be the people who embrace those technologies. We are way past the point where we can be ignorant of technology or we can ignore the technologies that are out there. If you have a professional role, that's impossible. Society at the population level, a lot of people are now being exposed to a lot of new opportunities and a lot of new convenience, and they will embrace it. If you don't embrace that now, then clearly you're missing out. We're not talking about embracing building a quantum computer in your house, right? We're not talking about that level of technology. We're talking about ordering your groceries online. This isn't super high tech, but it is now widely available. If you pull back and avoid this, then in the end, the individual will lose out probably on having higher levels of convenience and life satisfaction and potential future earnings potential. All of those things are what someone could miss out on. But if you embrace the technologies that are now so widely available, you might find there are new ways to benefit. There's two ways that companies benefit, because there's only two ways companies generate profits. And one is you sell more or you spend less. Adds value. Hint, hint, it's the people. The other piece, the building, doesn't add value. So companies are going to go, well, wait a minute, if we have to choose how we cut costs, we certainly want to keep our people because our people add value. Our people help us do business. Companies are embracing the technology to help them save money. Companies allow people to work remotely, and there might be an arbitrage opportunity. Right? You work remotely, even if your company tries to save a little money and pays you less, your standard of living might go through the roof because you're living somewhere so much cheaper. And so what you might see in the future is, teams that are distributed where you have a handful of people in the number one city for whatever you do, but a lot of people are in that tier 2 city. And then there are other folks who are distributed wherever they want to be. And so we could see that dynamic. I understand there's a joke in America. Are you working hard or hardly working? And there has been this perception that, if you're working at home, you're not working. They're beginning to see some people will produce and some people will not. The longer companies try being remote, the more they're going to realize that some of their people are actually more productive at home. I think people are going to become more deliverables focused, a perception that folks will eventually get over. And I think in the US it's happening, and because it's happened here, I'm confident that it'll happen in Korea as well. Well, we're already seeing it in the US. I live in Austin, so we are seeing people move here. But that's because Silicon Valley's number one, and it's 4 times the price or more. So what's happening is our real estate prices are now going up because people are capturing the arbitrage. That's not to say real estate in urban areas crashes and falls apart and the cities become abandoned, but it is to say that you might see demand abatement, where the demand was going like this, and now the demand kind of flattens off a little bit. So if you were buying real estate with the hope of just watching it go up and up and up, in some of those high density urban markets, that might become dicier. One element I would say is a really good set of headphones, because there's so much sometimes, there's the dog or your family, or there's something going on, and and if you put the headphones on and you put some music on repeat, it just drowns out the world. And sometimes that's what you need to do. My favorite time to work is on the weekends. Why? I don't get any emails. Nobody calls me. So I tend to work when other people aren't. Structuring your week so you can get work done when you want to, that's really important. Thinking about how do I work remotely is, it might take you a little while to find what works, but you will get there. And if you don't like something, my recommendation is always, I do this at the end of every single year. What is the thing I hate most about my job? And then I stop doing that thing. Figuring out what do you hate about remote work and finding a way to make that stop, that's probably really important. You're going to see more robots making food? Yep. Are you going to see more robots delivering food? Yep. And the people who work in those sectors will adapt, and the adaptation can be quite painful. And I understand unemployment is a horrible thing to experience. There are more opportunities to do online education and training and things like this than ever before. People will still find ways to work, and then you'll end up with eventually probably a more educated and more economically productive society. Now, there's going to be a painful transition in there for many people, but the outcome is still more people able to use more technology to produce more, to do more, and it will involve more learning and more education and higher knowledge. And
you said the best investment after the post-COVID-19 era is the investing in education, right? So why do you think so?
investing in education is really important. At every single level of additional formal education, the unemployment rate goes down and the wages go up. Every single level. If you don't finish high school, compare that to the level that did. Unemployment rate is lower, money is higher. Whatever you've learned, you take with you, right? So whether it's a pandemic or whatever else happens, the most valuable asset you probably should have is you. The jobs of the future are going to require people to be lifetime students. When I first came out of grad school, maybe it was the second time or the third time, but someone said to me, you want to be a professional student. Today, if you want to have a job in a few years, you better be a professional student because the job market and the technology are changing. So I think there's a few categories of jobs that are kind of more recession proof and that are going to maybe even see an uptick here. Obviously, technology. The second area where we're going to see continued attention is healthcare. This gets back to demographics. You'll always need a certain number of doctors, but what you really are going to need is the leverage for those doctors. Technology, yes, but a lot of nurses, home health aides, other folks in healthcare. In the United States, 6 of the 10 fastest growing professions for the next decade are forecasted to be in healthcare. Why? Population is getting older. I think project management is going to be a really important growth area. They make sure that people are doing different things. They have different. You're kind of like a coach. You're checking in with everybody, making sure everybody's doing okay. They get stuck. You're pushing the project along. People believe essentially now what they want to believe, right? They read something online and they don't dig deeper. They don't ask why. They don't look for additional information. Best thing that people can do is ask questions. And why is probably the best one, but digging into trying to get to the data, trying to get to real numbers, embrace these technologies that can improve your life in many different ways.
Do you have any advice on Korea or to the Korean government to cope with COVID-19 era?
If you can find a way to embrace those things in what you do, and if you run a company, helping your people embrace those things can help you achieve a lot more too.